want to talk to you today a little bit about failure and get you to understand that everybody goes through this. In business, especially, you'll fail at things, and it's just not a matter of if you're going to fail, but a matter of when you're going to fail, and how often, okay? It does happen to everybody sooner or later, so know that if you do take a risk and you do fail at something, I want you guys to understand that you can move past that, and you need to move past that. I can give you examples, different things that I have done in my life, and I do know that ever since I have had failures, it's made me a stronger person. In some respects, it makes you angry, I can remember, I'll give you an example of one, our hunting videos that we did, and we had, my brother and I had decided to make these archery hunting videos, and we loved them. And anyway, there was a company called Gander Mountain that had bought a ton of them from us. One November, right before Christmas, they loaded their stores up with them, and it was so much, in fact, I had to go to the bank and get a big loan. At the time, it was $18,000, which today would be like $180,000, so it was huge. And we thought, oh, hey, we finally hit the big time. And nope, that wasn't what happened. They filed bankruptcy on us like within 2 weeks after they got their order. What I found out later was they had rented big warehouses all over the country, and they filled them up with all the vendors' merchandise, and some of those happened to be our tapes. They had everything, guns, knives, hunting equipment, kayaks, whatever, They just screwed everybody. Then they filed bankruptcy so nobody could touch them. So just a total ass move by this company, right? Well, I had to pay that loan off at the bank, right? And we didn't have any way to pay it off because we didn't have any money coming in from the video sales because they screwed us. So that was devastating. I shed a tear over that one for sure, because that was just a kick in the nuts. We didn't have a lot of money back in the day, and when that happened to us, we were just devastated. And I can remember my wife being upset about it. I was upset about it. I'm like, here we have 3 kids we're trying to raise, and now this happened, and it's like, God, Jesus, what does a person have to do to get by? We did everything right, I thought, and then they filed bankruptcy on us and screwed us. But it happens, right? So it made me stronger. In some respects, it made me a little harder of a man too. And you'll see after a while, after you have a few of these things behind you, you do get a little harder towards people sometimes. You don't want to be, but that's just what happens to you. You get what I call thin or thick-skinned. You just get that. After a while, you just get hit on the head so many times with a club. After a while, you just build up an immunity to it. But anyway, Florida was another one. A lot of you know that I had my landscape company down in Florida. And I can remember a lot of bad things about that. But at the time, there were a lot of good things that happened too. We made a lot of money, and then things started to go the other way and ended up being a devastating loss, which I'll get into in a little bit about that. But, we still made money, make no mistake, but it was still devastating. So you're going to shed a lot of tears if you get into business for yourself and you continue to go through life. You'll find different things that you do don't turn out the way you thought they were going to, And so what's important is getting back on the horse, so to speak, and just get going on something else and keep moving, okay? Don't sit still. If something happens to you, get up. We're all going to get knocked down. It's just a matter of how many times you can get back up. And it really is. And that's not my saying. That's other guys' sayings. I think Sylvester Stallone said that. And about, it's not how many times you get knocked down, but how many times can you keep getting up. There's always going to be somebody out there that's trying to knock you down and knock you off your pedestal, And it happens. You have to learn from it and move on, right? So I want to give you another example of one bad thing that happened to me down in Florida. So we had suspected some of the guys were doing drugs, and finally I just got on my manager about it, and I decided to order a piss test for everybody, and they had to pass it or they were fired. And that day, everyone, including my manager, jumped ship. I didn't know anything about it. They all disappeared. I started getting calls from customers. They said, no one's coming to mow our grass. What's going on? I checked the GPS units in the trucks. trucks hadn't moved. I'm like, what is going on? I tried to call my manager on the phone, couldn't get him on the phone, so I had to jump on a plane, fly to Florida. I get there, the business was cleaned out. All the equipment and everything was just left there, and they literally just popped smoke and disappeared. So that was a devastating thing to me, and I'll never forget. I was so depressed by that. And at that time, when I walked into our shop, there's no TV in the shop, there's no stereo in the shop, there is nothing. It's like you could hear a pin drop, right? It was just devastating. I remember mowing lawns all day, and I'm way behind because at the time we had like 400 or 500 accounts, right? And I'm trying to get through these things. I'm trying to hire other people. And I remember that first night or two when I came home, I remember just slumping down in a corner and it was just so devastated, just bawling my eyes out basically, because I couldn't believe I had grown this business and then it was taken away from me like that because of a decision that I made to piss test my guys. I think that was just ridiculous, and I don't know, I guess they just said, screw it, I ain't going to pass it anyway because we're all on dope. That may be the case, whatever. It was my decision, so I have to live with it, right? So I got up and I moved on, okay? There's another instance I can remember when we had a big account through this company called Gerard Environmental, and they had hired us to do all the targets and CVS's in Brevard County, and we had them all. And I went down, I met with these guys a couple times, flew down, made the arrangements, got it done. Well, this was like a $500,000 contract to us, okay? Or thereabouts. I don't remember exactly what it was anymore, but it was a big deal. And we had already decided to sell the business. We had picked these guys up, and that really upped the value of what we were going to sell the business for, right? Well, then we started getting notifications from the Target stores that things weren't being taken care of properly. And so first thing I did is I'm on the phone with the manager. What's going on? What's going on? So, you know, he had an excuse for everything. I jumped on a plane. I got another complaint. I jumped on a plane. I headed down there to see for myself what was going on. Manager wasn't doing his job. I ended up firing the manager and a bunch of employees, and then had to get a new manager in place. And he was a guy that actually worked for Gerard Environmental, and they were happy to have him on board. And I thought, oh great, I got a guy that they're really going to be happy with because he used to work for them. They're the ones that actually gave me his name to call him. So I hired this guy, and total nightmare, absolute nightmare. I assumed everything was being taken care of. I asked for photographs of everything, and the only things he photographed were like he'd pick a section of garbage in the parking lot. He would take a picture of that, or he'd trim all those shrubs in that one area, but then he wasn't doing the rest of them. So, in a nutshell, I had the business sold on a Monday morning, right? I'm flying down there to sign the paperwork. I got the buyer. He's a cash buyer coming in, right? I think it was like, I want to say $400,000 I had it sold for, somewhere like that. I don't even remember what it was exactly, $300,000, $400,000, something like that. Point is, that Thursday, just prior to Monday, I get a notification from Gerard Environmental, and they fired us. Okay? And to top it off, they took my manager and plucked him back into their business. So they just kicked me to the curb, took my manager, and when all that money disappeared from my net value, well, guess what happened to my deal that I had with that guy on Monday morning? Fell right through. That was devastating. I'm like, oh man, we worked so hard on this thing and we had it sold, and now look what happened, you know. So, in a nutshell, we had to pick ourselves back up from that. And we had decided, hey, we're still doing the right thing. Let's sell this business. Let's get out of this. This is a frickin' nightmare running it from 1,600 miles away. So I don't encourage any of you to do that. But anyway, we had to just stop crying and move on, okay? You have to move on. You can't just sit and dwell on all these things all the time, or they'll just eat you alive, right? Anyway, everybody's going to fail sooner or later. If you're in business long enough, you're going to fail. Nobody's a lucky charm. Nobody's just going to hit every business right on the head and do well. Remember that and know that going in. If you tried to do a lawn care company, for example, and you didn't have a lot of luck with it at first, maybe now that you've read a lot more or seen a lot of videos and you've studied it and you see the error of your ways, maybe you could go back into that business now and maybe you could start it all over and do a lot better, you know. But you won't know that unless you get back on the horse, so to speak, and get going. You know, that back on the horse thing always came from my brothers and I used to break horses when we were younger, and Dad would always get your ass back on that horse, and if you didn't, you get an ass beaten. He would beat your ass if you didn't get back on that horse, so the horse could throw you off and knock the crap out of you. So it was really just a great upbringing. Thanks, Dad. Anyway, that being said, get back on the horse, keep moving, and sooner or later things pay off, right? So always keep your chin up. Don't fear failure, because it's going to happen. I hope you guys learned something from this video, and don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and if you like, hit that little notification bell, and that'll let you know next time we have a video coming out. Thanks for watching.